fishing hole. Grab your hat, get your pole. Let's go fishing when you're in the mood.
Canadian Sport Fishing, brought to you in part by Rapala, premium fishing gear crafted from experience. Ducket Fishing, pro-driven. Raymarine Electronics, Raymarine, simply superior. Pro Sports Boats, tame the waters.
You know what? We've got a great fall day. The sun is shining, but the weather is all over the place. Just a few minutes ago, the wind was about 10 or 15 knots stronger. It's about the middle of November, but we're still gonna go out. You know, the nice thing about having a home base, which is right here, is that you can have a lift like this to keep your boat out of the water and ready to go whenever you want. So I just stepped into the boat, I turned the 2 fuses on so that I've got power to my motor and power to my electronics. And this is a lift that's manual, so if I crank up, you can hear the clicks, it's coming up, and whenever I stop it, it stops, it locks it, or I can go the other way. Very easy to use. So I'm gonna lower it right now so that I can drive it off. Because I've got the engine warming up, I'll be able to go right off. Now during the summertime, there's a nice canopy that goes over it, so you can see the frame that's up top. But right now, this time of the year, it's kind of cold, so the canopy is gonna go back on in the spring. And at the end of the season, which is gonna be in about a week or two, the whole lift is gonna have wheels put on it, and it's gonna be taken out of the water for the winter time. So what a great way to store your boat and have it ready to use. Make sure that it's safe so nothing happens to it. So you know what? I'm ready to go fishing. Let's catch some fish. Can you tell it's windy out? Now this is funny. We're throwing these crankbaits and spinnerbaits for pike, and look at what I got here. I thought I had a bass on. Looks like a really nice jumbo perch. You know they're big when they grab the crankbaits like that are designed for game fish. See if I can flip this guy in the boat. Stay on there. You know, if we were perch fishing, that would be a good sized perch to get. Look at the size of the crankbait he hit. They're pretty aggressive. Man, no wonder the walleyes, which are a bigger perch, you know, hit crankbaits and pretty large body baits. I can't believe that he's in off these weeds where the pike are, because that would be a nice meal for about a 10, 12 pound pike. Isn't that a gorgeous perch? You just toss him in the water, little perch, there you go. Now this crankbait looks small, but it has rattles in it. You can probably hear them. And it'll dive down to about, I'm gonna say 10 feet. So we're marking weeds just along the bottom, and the wind is so strong that you can literally just drift. Don't have to even reel the crankbait in. I'm just touching it a little bit. Wow, close to the boat, nice northern. You know, can you tell that it's a little cool out? Let me just get a little bit undressed here. You know, it's so nice to have a hoodie, rain suit. I've got my buff. Come on, I'm trying to get this guy to come around this side of the boat. You know, the springtime is one of my, oh man, that guy's almost off. He rolled in the line, and look, I've got one hook in there. Come on, there. I was gonna say, do you know that the spring and fall time is one of my favorite times to go for northern pike? I'm gonna put him right here on the floor. Let some line out. Take my gloves off because I don't want to get them all fishy. Not that I mind. So today we've got the water temperature of about 50 degrees. It's funny because we started fishing a point and it was 48 degrees. So I got to tell you, we're the middle of November. Remembrance Day just happened, and there's very few boats out. You can see on shore, people have pulled all their docks out, all their lifts. We still have our lift in, because some of us are diehard anglers. So I'm taking my time here. I don't think I need my pliers, because this is where you want to conserve your energy. It's probably just a few degrees above zero. Okay, good. He got out of off the lure. So look, what a nice way to start the day. Come here, I'm going to gently slide my hand underneath his gill plate, just like that. Gorgeous northern. You know, he's not a monster fish, but this time of the year in November when you come out and you crank and spinnerbait the weed lines, these guys are still very active. And I'll tell you what, I'm holding on to this fish and he's warmer than the air temperature, definitely. Nice start. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk to the back of the boat because it's a lot easier to get in the water. And we're going to be releasing this guy. Should have tons of energy because that water is colder. I just don't want to get anywhere near those gill rakers. And I'm going to suspend him gently, but you know what? Look at the water is so cold. I'm multitasking here. I'm just using the motor guide to get us in a little bit closer. I'm watching the depth. We're about 7 feet. So look, this is the lure. You can see that it looks like it's been through a forest fire. See that lip? It's dark there because I used a lighter. And this lip, this would normally dive down to about 20 feet, but what I've done is curve it. Can you see the curvature that I made on it? I'm always tinkering with stuff, eh? And you can see that the front, I've actually tilted a little bit. So it's actually tilted this way. It's not flat. And I had to do that because it was running a little bit on an angle. So you can actually, by not burning it up, you can heat it slowly and you can adjust it. So I got it to run just right. And I'm gonna run it in the water and you're gonna see that nice kicking action that it has. So this is like a perch baitfish color. This is a great lure because you gotta reel it slow because it has such a wide action. And that's what you want when you're fishing over the weeds like this for these late season pike. So on there I've got a snap. I've got about a 15-pound fluorocarbon leader, not too long, only about that long. And then I'm using a medium action, 7-foot spinning outfit with braided line. I think that braided line is 20-pound test, which is like the diameter of 6-pound monofilament. So you can cast this really far. The key though is to fish slowly and to fish close to where the weeds are ending, but fish on top of them for the northern. So let me show you the action in the water. I've got the electric on just so you can see that nice wobbling action. You can see how good that looks. So it's not diving. If I let it back a little bit, it's still not going to go down too deep. It'll dive down to about 10 feet. So it's amazing what you can do with some of the plastic clip lures. Tell me that's not an action that a fish would love to strike. I can go slower. Let me just lower the electric down a bit. And in a minute here, you're going to see that the wobble is a little wider. So there, look at, see that nice kicking action? That's a little slower. Man, what a tantalizing action. See here, this is why it's so important to have a fish finder, and in this boat we have two. We have one that's in the dash and one that's right underneath the electric. So this is the bay, and the hydrographic chart is great, but it doesn't tell me exactly where the weed growth is. And you know what, in the fall, there's the first nice weeds. I want to get up where the weeds are a little bit more consistent, because this is what I would call the weed line. Yep, warning. So I'm just going to go a little bit farther. Let's get rid of that on screen. There, see the weeds here? This is all weeds on the bottom. Remember, in the fall, the weeds are dying. So you want to fish a little bit in more. If it was midsummer, there's nice weed growth there. So when I get to about 5 feet, I'm going to put the electric on the track mode. There, see the nice weeds here? And we've got about 5 feet. That's perfect for the crankbait or the spinnerbait, about 5 feet above the weeds. And we're going to follow that weed line. And I'm going to be running a track, so I'll know exactly where the weeds are. Perfect. Now I'm going to angle the boat. We're at 5'9", maybe a little bit in more. And I'm going to start casting. There, good location. Closed captioning is brought to you by K100. We make water burn. You know, it's so nice to have a boat that's safe, multi-species. This particular one is fiberglass, 20 feet long, loaded with electronics. You can see at the front we've got the fish finder. And I like the way that the mechanic installed it. You can see that the fish finder isn't mounted on top. It's on this special mount that I can adjust, move left and right. The reason he's done that is so that if I need to go up there, which a lot of times when you're fishing in shallow water like bass fishing and stuff, you can climb right on top of here to get a little bit more higher altitude so you can see things in the water. It's really smart to have it mounted there. And then of course we've got our electric trolling motor, but what I want to really talk about is the power for the electric trolling motor. In a minute I'm going to lift this hatch up. You know, in the past I've used for a 24-volt motor 2 acid batteries. You know, they're acid core, and they probably weigh about 60 pounds each, and they're called 100 ampere hour batteries. That's how you kind of, you know, determine the size. So watch and hear what I've got. This is very special. Look at this. This may look like a big battery. It is, but it's not that heavy. This is a lithium battery. It's 24 volts, and it actually puts out 25.6 volts. You can see right there on the label, and it's 100 ampere hour. And it only weighs 30 kilograms. That's about 60 pounds. So this is the weight of one acid core battery, but it does the work of 2. And what's really neat about the lithium technology is that it's not affected by cold. You know, a lot of times with the acid batteries, acid core, if it's cold out, and I fish sometimes even in the middle of winter, the battery will lose its power. So with the lithium, they really retain their power, and they deliver the power, all the power, right up until the end. It's not when they get, you know, a normal acid core battery will get weaker and weaker and weaker. You know, this one will have the power right till the end, and then of course, it's out. So you've got to recharge it. So the other nice thing that I like about it is that I don't have to charge it every night. For example, I've been fishing the last 2-3 days, and I'll only charge it once, and you don't have to charge it ahead of time. And this particular battery will charge in about 5 hours. So I'm telling you, the way to go, you know, if you're planning on upgrading your batteries, and you're looking for really powerful batteries, check lithium ones. The other thing I'm going to mention is, you see this breaker switch that I have here? This is a breaker switch that goes to the electric. So when I'm not running the electric, or when I'm taking the boat out of the water, I'll hit this yellow button right there, and that'll disconnect the power going to the actual plug. So I've got a plug that's right there. There's my plug right there. So the reason I do that, number one, is so that there's no trickle charge coming out of the battery, and 2, most of the newer electric motors, like this one here, it has a GPS system. So if you're right now, the little symbol for the satellite is on because we have it on an anchor mode. That's this light right here. It's got a little satellite thing. If this is plugged in, and even though my electric isn't deployed and there's power going to it, it'll still look for a satellite signal. And the same thing with the power poles that I have in the back. So it's very important that you have a shut-off switch, or you unplug that plug to make sure that there's no power going to it. But I'll tell you what, this lithium technology, unbelievable. Lightweight, powerful, and stores lots of energy, so you can run it for a long time. You know, when you're fishing in November, you better be ready for the different elements. Man, oh, this is a nice fish. You know, we're just fishing off these shorelines, and this isn't fighting like a pike. It feels like a really good fish. It's gonna keep the pressure on. And I've switched to a bait casting outfit. This one is 7.5 feet long, and it casts great. Oh, it's a big smallmouth. I mean, a big smallmouth. He's head shaking. I'm gonna try to keep the pressure on. Come on up, you baby, so we can get a look at it. It's huge. Look at this. Look, that is a big smallmouth. Thick. This is where even a man like me gets excited. Come on up. Come on closer. The wind's blowing the boat. I'm gonna try to get this underneath it. Come on, in the net. Oh, what a gorgeous fish. Can you tell I'm struggling a little bit to get it up? Okay, this is where I'm gonna have to calm down. You just sit down for a second here. That is a huge smallmouth. No exaggeration. Wow. Man, I don't know how heavy this guy is. I don't have a tape measure. This guy is humongous. Don't thrash too much. My hands are cold. Look at, you know what? That is huge. Here, I'm gonna stand up. Can you see how big this guy is? I don't have to hold him out. Look at how thick it is. I think that fish is 6 pounds or over. Look at, gorgeous. You know what, it's worth being out here. We just had rain go through. We had a little bit of like flurries and snow earlier, and that fish just hammered that lure. What a gorgeous smallmouth. You know what, I'm gonna take a seat here because it's a little roly-poly, and this guy is hard to hold on to. I gotta put him down. He had, I thought he had both hooks in his mouth, but you know what? When smallmouths come up, and this guy really didn't jump because of the conditions. There, come on. Okay, one more look before, man, I can't get over how heavy this fish is. I gotta change hands. Look at, that is a big smallmouth. I love it. I hope there's more here. I'm gonna keep working this spot here. Oh, you beautiful creature, you. Wow, what a gorgeous fish. Okay, I'm gonna put him in the net, or her, and I'm gonna hold it over the side to revive it slowly, just over here. Man, I don't think it's gonna take much to revive, because that water is freezing. Well, it's actually not freezing, it's just the air is cold. Come on, right yourself up, you beautiful smallmouth. I held that for a second to get the hooks out. I think it's gonna take off in just a moment. Yeah, it's ready. There it goes. Wow. You know, this is tough work in these conditions. My nose is running. I have these gloves on, which are good for casting, but then I also had the other gloves on. And we're just fishing shorelines. You can see the shoreline here. It doesn't look like anything special. And we're working the breaks and the weeds, but I found that a lot of the weeds have died. So what we're doing is just working a little bit off the weeds and casting. You can see that the wind's picked up a little bit, so we got some residual rollers out here. But in this boat, it's great. I love the freeboard. It's so high that there's no problem. There's no splashing when we're running. And even for standing at the front, that's a 72-inch shaft electric. So I can work it and follow the contour lines. It's perfect. Okay, let's get another fish. I warmed up a little bit anyway, fighting that fish. Raymarine Electronics. Raymarine, simply superior. Yay! I went just a little bit deeper. I switched up to a blade bait, just off the shallow water. And guess what? Kabam! I've got another nice bass on. It came out of the water once. Man, they've got a lot of energy. You know what? The bass fishing in the fall can be so good. I've gone out right up until the end of November. And as long as you can, you know, the weather conditions are pretty good and the water's not too rough, you can have some amazing smallmouth bass fishing. And pike as well. And sometimes pike will come off those weeds and you'll get them in open water. They'll be like on the reefs and on the bars, just away from the shallower bays. I love the bend on this rod. Hopefully this guy's hooked okay. I think he's got the back hook in his mouth. I just have to reach for the net. Perfect. And yeah, it's another nice large smallmouth. Come on, come on. Yeah, good, he jumped right in the net. Perfect. Look at, nice size fish. Look at this. Let me get my glove off again. The boat's all wet from the rain. Man, this guy threw the hook right when he got in the net. So I think I timed that just right. Because you don't want to try to net them when they're too green, because then they can thrash and get off. I'll get that off in a minute. Let me just hold this guy up so you can see how beautiful he is. Here. Nice chunky fish. Ow. Come on, look, aren't these gorgeous fish? Man, you combine a day with, you know, big perch, big nice pike, beautiful smallmouth like that. They are so thick and chunky. What a beautiful fish. Okay, just gonna lure him over the side. And he's gonna take off pretty quick. There he goes. Now let me show you this blade bait. Because a lot of guys
probably see them in stores, but they don't purchase them. And you know, the funny thing is, I called a whole bunch of tackle shops because I needed to get a couple more, and hardly anybody stocked them. I don't know how the heck this hook went into the mesh, because this is a big mesh. This is where you got to be patient and hope that your hands aren't too frozen so you still have dexterity. I'm real close to getting it out here. Then I can show it to you. I went with a yellow color, number one, because it's bright, two, because it looks like a perch. Now, this is what a blade bait looks like. They call it a blade bait because, look, if I hold it so that you can see it, it's like a blade, right? It's a flat piece of metal. It has a weighted front, and if you can see, there are 3 holes, 1, 2, 3 on the top. Those holes are designed so that it hangs differently. Right now I have it on the front one because I'm casting it and retrieving it. See how the head points down a little bit? So when I'm casting it, it'll go to the bottom. When I'm pulling it, it'll come towards me. If I was just fishing in deeper water right below the boat, I'd put it in the center hole. So that means that it would be hanging perfectly horizontal like this, and I would be jigging it up and down. The reason these blade baits work so well is when you jerk it, it goes like this. So it has a really nice swimming action. Rod Runner Canada, grab and go fishing. You know, this is so nice. There is no one out here. We're in the eastern basin of Lake Ontario, and things are very quiet. It's just us. And you know what? For being cold water, middle of November, these bass have a lot of fight in them. They're all good-sized fish. Good. Oh, he just got off at the boat, and that's okay. You know, because we're fishing just off the break, I thought we'd run some of the deeper divers. This particular crankbait, it's really a body bait. It's caught in my glove right now there. It's a body bait because it has like a fish body. This one's got like a purple back, but look how long that lip is.
Canadian Sport Fishing, brought to you in part by Rapala, premium fishing gear crafted from experience. Ducket Fishing, pro-driven. Raymarine Electronics, Raymarine, simply superior. Pro Sports Boats, tame the waters.
So that's the kind of action that I like on a crankbait. Some crankbaits have a really tight wobble. This particular one has a really nice side-to-side action. So this outfit is a 7-foot spinning rod. It's one piece, and I've got a medium-sized spinning reel. And that line that you can see is a yellow color.